So hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Gowans, remedial massage therapist at BlossomingMe. I'm going to talk to you today, a follow-up chat about the chronic pain that we were talking about last week. So I'm really grateful that you're here. Unfortunately, we're not actually face-to-face, but this is the next best thing. And, physically together, virtually together, and just know that I'm sending all my positive energy and thoughts your direction. Whether you're suffering with chronic pain, anything else, or just have a curiosity about health, welcome to Blossoming Me. We're here to help you on your journey towards health in your life, whatever that looks like for you. So talking about chronic pain, so if you are suffering with chronic pain, that means you've been in probably distress, certainly discomfort, and probably intense pain over the last 3 months plus. Those warning messages that the brain is picking up from the body are still coming through nice and strong. Initially, they were really helpful so that your body could protect itself from further damage to tissues in whatever area might have been affected for you. So let's go back one step and talk about how that pain communication happens from the body to the brain. So we've got neurons or nerve cells that communicate with each other, particularly across that link from the body through the spine into the central nervous system. And these nerves communicate with each other via, it's a chemical style of communication. So they send neurotransmitters, chemicals, from one neuron to the next. That's how the messages go from your point of pain, wherever that is on your body. For example, the arm. Sorry, this is not quite working as I expected. So on your arm, for example, in your elbow, commonly joints, up through the arm into the nervous system and up into the complex areas of the brain. So those neurotransmitters help bridge the gap from one nerve across the gap that's called the synapse gap from one nerve to the other. So this nerve is receiving and this nerve is sending. And the neurotransmitters go from one to the other. So the nerves themselves don't actually touch. Now, obviously, the more neurotransmitters that are sent from one nerve to the other, the greater pain will be registered in our brain. Often, when you have chronic pain, not only are you receiving those neurotransmitters and the messages from the nerves still, but the neurons, the nerve cells, they are actually not desensitized, as often happens in various different things in our body, but they're actually hypersensitized, meaning that it takes less of these chemicals, the neurotransmitters going from one nerve cell to the other, it takes less of them to stimulate this nerve cell and make it connect and send messages up to the brain. So the more neurotransmitters that you get, the sharper the pain. In this instance, the neurotransmitters are still coming through, and this nerve cell is now hypersensitive, so it takes less of those transmitters to actually activate or stimulate it, make it send the message. So it's sending more messages more often, and often more intensely, just because the nerve cell itself is hypersensitized. So along with that, physiologically, we are trying to protect ourselves when we're feeling the pain. So if you have a pain in the elbow, in the arm somewhere, and whether it's chronic or acute, the natural human tendency is to guard the muscles, to protect them, to not move as far or as intensely or as quickly. And so when you are guarding the muscles, then you are restricting the range of movement. You are naturally restricting that level of movement, intensity of movement, range of movement, and so your muscles can then weaken and atrophy, and that can decrease the ability for your muscles to actually function. So your functionality of your muscles can be decreased. That can stress you out. Funny that. So there is a psychological element happening here as well. If you are limited for a long period of time in what your body is able to do, that starts stressing you and has other psychological effects that can also lead to a lack of sleep, which can exacerbate the whole cycle. So this becomes a real self-fulfilling prophecy and impacts not only psychological but your sympathetic nervous system. So that whole fight, flight, freeze response is activated. So you get trapped in this cycle of pain where the sympathetic nervous system is activated. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, another thing that happens is that your body can't heal because it needs to be in the parasympathetic mode, the rest and digest or rest and repair mode, in order to heal. So if it's stuck in that sympathetic fight, flight, freeze response, and that is stuck on because you're in that pain cycle, then you have the complication of the body finding it hard, near impossible, to actually heal itself at that level. And so what can you do to actually help to reduce that pain, get your life back, get your sleep patterns back, and start to actually feel better, start to feel like you again? What can you do? So a couple of things that can help to reduce the pain or make you feel like you're more in charge of yourself is getting an understanding of what triggers the pain. When is it that your muscles will automatically guard and you will go into that self-protection, that fight, flight, freeze mode? So having a journal, what we call a trigger journal, can be really impactful and help you to get an understanding of what is going on in your body and when it is actually most likely, what situations are most likely to trigger the event of that self-protection coming on strong. You don't have necessarily any conscious control over that self-protection reaction. It is simply that, a reaction. And so you want to be aware of when those times in your life, in your day-to-day work, in your day-to-day life, working with kids, working at your job, whatever it is that you do, if you are able to be proactive and understand your body so that you can foresee when those times are likely to happen, you will feel much more in charge of your own life. So a trigger journal can be really, really useful. Another thing that can support you in working through this pain and help to settle the nervous system so that you can start to move out of the fight, flight, freeze and into the rest, digest, rest and repair phase of the nervous system are things like pacing your projects. So setting a time limit, could be an hour, it could be 20 minutes, doesn't matter. Do whatever it is that you need to do in the day in 20-minute slots and take a real decent pause in between. Those pauses are best if they are nurturing and nourishing for you. Those pauses can be things like even simple deep breathing. Take a few deep breaths, and if you can breathe out for longer than you breathe in, that will start to calm and settle your nervous system. So a simple deep breath in and out. So you might like to count to 3 or 4 to breathe in, and 1 count longer when you breathe out. Other nourishing and nurturing things can be going for a walk, particularly in nature. That can really ground you and really be nourishing for your soul as well as your whole body and settle your nervous system. As you've probably heard me talk about before, Epsom salt baths, but any sort of relaxation like that, meditation, visualization, prayer, anything like that. In particular, the Epsom salt baths, because the magnesium can sink into the nerves themselves and help to settle that at a chemical level. So these things can be really useful for you to help nurture, nourish your body and help you manage your life so that your pain and your nervous system in particular can settle, so that you can come out of the sympathetic and into the parasympathetic nervous system, activating that. So I want to thank you for tuning in today, for sharing this space with me. If you'd like to jump ahead, comment yes below, and I will send you, I'll DM you and organize to get you the ebook that I've written to help you break through that pain cycle. I look forward to seeing you next month as we work through another challenge, and Alexis will be back with you next week to work through other health issues as well. Have a fabulous week. Namaste.